Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Coach C, with the Power Within You University. This is the GoodFather broadcast. The less control you have over yourself is the more control you cede to someone or something else. Dads, do you think that your grown son or daughter will have a better chance of success if they have more or less self-control? I think the answer is pretty self-evident. And this is the quintessential question of discipline. Now, you cannot control your children, but you can cause them to control themselves. This week, we continue our talk with the humantrepreneur, Mr. Christian Schmitz. We talk about the power of discipline, having an organized home, and who he would be without his good father. Please subscribe and like, and don't forget, dads, the power is within you.
You and I.
True that, true that.
Just the two of us, yeah. Just the two.
Ha 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 ha. Daddy loves you. Daddy loves you.
So would you say that broadly your father was the leader in the family and that your mom kind of followed his lead, or how was that structure?
I think she would not agree at all if I say that my father was a leader. My father.
What was your impression? What was your impression as a child?
In some things, my mother was the lead in the organizational things and regarding schedule, regarding I don't know if I paint this the right picture, but
So kind of the
operational
right.
aspect. Yes, and in terms of knowledge, philosophical questions, and also in terms of being able to answer any kind of question which exists, and also not getting tired of answering questions. It was clearly my father who was the lead in this.
Okay, so kind of like maybe your father took the lead with regards to the spiritual, and obviously then the academic, the maybe strategic, directional, and your mom was really focused more on the operational aspect of it. Does that sound like it reflects what you grew up with?
Maybe it's a little bit more complex than that, but roughly, I could agree to this. Later, you have to ask both my mother and my dad.
I ain't trying to start any fights, man.
What?
I'm not trying to start any fights, man. Okay, and so we were talking about specific tactics and strategies that you felt in retrospect that your father was trying to utilize to get you to cultivate you in a certain direction. And within that context, you spoke of, his giving you very broad access to different ideas and different concepts, and not necessarily pushing you in one direction or the other, but giving you the freedom to decide through giving you access to different perspectives. What role did discipline play in your cultivation, and how, if your father disciplined you, how did he discipline you?
You could say that the daily schedule which we had was kind of rigid in a way that we know exactly when we get up. We we know, I mean, there are these very small things which you also have to teach your children, that when you get up, you have brush your teeth before the breakfast, for example. And we had these rituals of preparing the table, and yeah, usually my parents did this when we were small, but later on there was also a switch in roles. Now today, for example, you have to do it, and another day my brother has to do it. And also in the evening, when we were until elementary school, we slept I think at 7 o'clock, and until we slept, we had to do these specific things like brush your teeth, go to the bathtub, always together with my brother, and then we got the book reading or the playing of the instrument and singing a song. Yeah, so these things were in a way rigid and operational, and yeah. So does this answer your question? Or?
Sure. Well, the question was about discipline. And so, let's say, for example, your father wanted you to do something and you didn't want to do it, or your mother wanted you to do something and you didn't want to do it. Was there any occasion where your father had to step in and, make you do something that you didn't want to do? And,
oh, yeah. Mm.
So when I say discipline, okay, one is the kind of the broad structural aspect, but now I'm asking more about the kind of detailed aspect of discipline, the one-on-one discipline that you got from your father.
We had our limits. We can go this far, but not any further. So my father was kind of strict, and sometimes when his patients, and he's very patient. When his patients came to a limit, then it was really scary sometimes. So
okay.
we knew that we shouldn't get there actually.
Okay. Well, when I was growing up, it was simple. If I crossed a certain line, I got the belt. That was all. Yeah, the belt.
That must be painful.
It was. It was. But in the context of me growing up, it was a very useful and powerful and instructive tool. So when you said your dad reached the end of his patience, what did that mean? And so him reaching the end of his patience for you it sounds like it was a deterrent, right? It sounded like you knew what would happen if you reached the end, and so you did your best not to reach the end, right?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, in German we say den Hintern versohlen. Versohlen. I mean, you said the belt, but this was
yeah.
hand. So you just. But he usually used that as a word to threat, but he rarely practiced it.
Okay.
Windelweich. He said windelweich. Ich schlag dir den Hintern windelweich. So that was really bad sometimes. And but he never. I don't. Sometimes he did it, but almost never. So
right.
So it was like having nuclear arms strategy is not to use it, but to say we have it.
Right.
Similar to this.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. How do you feel that you would be different if you did not have your father in your life growing up?
That's an interesting question. How would I be different? Not of course. I mean, It could be any kind of direction that I would be different, but in terms of the different values, in terms of the critical thinking which I learned from my father, in terms of many things, I can say that I'm actually very happy that he was my father, and we have not always been of the same opinion, but there was always a great respect for him, and like I said, I still admire him very much, and I still get a lot of advice from him even nowadays. And
so it's fair to say that if you didn't have him as your father in your life, you would be a completely different person.
I could be a completely different person. If I had grown up in a purely, for example, my father is a lawyer and my mother would have been a businesswoman or something like this, then in the family, the whole discussions would have been all around business. And
Yeah.
if you go to vacation, for example, you want to go to the Ritz-Carlton or to this resort over there and so on. But this has never been important for us, and it has also never been important what kind of car we are driving and all these kind of things. So these kind of values, it's not my values, and I'm very happy that I learned these values. And my father also, in Germany, in the end of the 70s, the Green Party was founded, and Germany is now regarded as one of the countries in the world which is most advanced in ecological thinking and sustainability. And I think that at an early stage, my father supported the Green Party, and he also supported Greenpeace, and he still supports Greenpeace actually. So this is another kind of passion which I also always had, that we are here as human beings on this planet, but there's not only human beings. We are a part of something bigger, and yeah, so that's another big value which I got. And if I had a different father, I don't know if that kind of set of values would have been transported in this way.
He was a giant when I was just a kid. I was always trying to do everything he did. I can still remember every lesson he taught me. Growing up, learning how to be like my old man. He was a lion. We were a father's pride, but I was defiant when he made me walk the line. He knew how to lift me up and when to let me